tradition. It's what we call orthopraxis. Is that in Islam it's all about practical things. So this is a contribution. Remember that Shatibi was a European Muslim scholar. He's a European. And he was talking about al-maqasid, the objectives. So once again, when you come with this mindset, we are not coming with a conflicting attitude, or human rights is not really us. No, it's us, it's you, it's us all together to find the objectives. How do we deal with the human dignity? This is why our contribution here is not to talk to Americans as a minority community talking to majority. No, it's wrong. Any one of you is coming to this country putting himself or herself in a situation with, oh, we are talking about your human rights, us as Muslims, is wrong. We are talking as American Muslims speaking on our common values, and these are the human rights. Let us talk, we are not a minority. Our values are majority values. When you come and you say what you were saying here about the way it's done, sometimes this distortion to justice in this country, we are talking as a majority. It's a majority feeling. There is something wrong in the system. There is something wrong in the system where when you are a black American, you are 5 times more likely to be just put in jail or to be sentenced to death in this country. It's wrong. It's not Islamically wrong. It's not in an American way wrong. It's wrong, period. And this is where we are coming with something which is universal. So this is where, as Muslims, we should be part of something which is a majority trend in this country, saying no to injustices, no to the lack of dignity, and forgetting human rights, and this discrepancy between values that we champion and practices that are just not respecting these values. So this is something, once again, which is the first attitude, which is an old discussion that we have among Muslims about, oh, human rights they are problematic. And even of some of the points, I will come to this, that even in some of the points, there are things that we have we need to discuss. The second thing which is important here is to let us come to the fundamentals and to the principles as Muslims. And it's important for you as American and as Muslims to come back to the fundamentals with a mindset, with an intellectual attitude, which is important. Because what is important here is not only to deal with the systems or the societies in a way which is sometimes patronizing and arrogant. We Muslims, we have the values. And we have exactly the opposite. Americans saying, we Americans, we have the values and we have the societies. I think that the starting point of all this discussion about human rights, it's something which is the starting point in our mind and heart, is humility. Humility saying, we know what are the best values, but we know that we are not at the level. We do not meet the level. As Muslims and as Americans, there is a gap between what we propose, what we value, and what we are doing. And humility is the best way to be critical. And to be critical is to be self-critical. So, for example, I would say that for many of us, it would be very difficult to come here and to patronize and to lecture the American system if we are not also critical with what is happening in Muslim majority countries. And you cannot just distinguish this, to blame the Americans and not to come to us, because at the end of the day, we are right. It's very difficult to speak about Palestine and Palestinians in this country. But what about the Muslim majority countries and some of the Arab countries? What about this? I'm coming from Egypt, I cannot go there. But it's a shame to see what is happening and in which way the blockade is supported by the Egyptian government. It's a shame. So if I want to be heard, and if I want to have this kind of, credibility when I speak, I cannot say, oh, let us speak about America, and we are going to forget about everything which is happening in Muslim majority countries. No, we have to be consistent. So humility is important. Self-critical assessment, it's important. Because Islam is great, but not all the Muslims are, unless even the governments. So I'm not saying that you should be involved in this discussion by criticizing all the governments, because there is also something when it comes to human rights is to be wise and reasonable. But you have to speak out. And in this critical discussion, humility, critical thinking, it's important. Consistency. And something else which is also important is respect. It's also to listen to what the people have to say and where they are coming from, because we are not following the same route and not following the same path. So when you have Christians and humanists, humanists, I saw so many people saying, I don't believe in God, but they are much more consistent than some believers when it comes to human rights. I saw people ready to sacrifice much more than some Muslims. They say, I believe in God, but they are not ready to sacrifice. They are not going to speak the truth. So I would say on this, we stick to our principles, but with respect to the principles and the roots of the other. So respect, humility, consistency, and an ongoing self-critical attitude. Intellectually speaking, it's important. It is very good for our spirituality. It's very good for our heart, because humility is something which is helping us. It's the way to say, exactly as Tasneem was saying, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I'm going to do whatever I can, but what I cannot do, Allah can do it. I just la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wusaha. I just have to do whatever I can, and then after this I say la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. But this is a position and this is an attitude which is quite important here. And then to come from where we are also as Muslims, to think about the objectives. What do we want to achieve? What are the priorities? We need a vision. We need also a vision, because all these cases that we are talking about, that we have now brothers and sisters in jail, and this is unjust, we have to struggle. We should not give up. This is a struggle. But there is a vision. The vision is not only for them to be freed, it's really to help this society to stop stigmatizing Muslims, letting the people think that Islam is not an American religion. And this is something that I was very happy when I heard your President Barack Obama when he was in Cairo. And just even 2 days before this speech, when he was sending also a message to this country by saying Islam is an American religion and American Muslims are contributing. So now we want him to deliver more. But you should listen to this and say, okay, this is it. Islam is an American religion, and we are going to contribute to the future of this country. But how? This is where we need not only to become activists. We should also come with something which has to do with to be believers and having values and dignity. It's not a way we act, it's a way of being. The way we are, it's important, because I think it's our contribution. When we come, and this is what I want to start from, this spiritual dimension, and then to come to what we have to do and some of the steps that are already taken, just to remind us of the necessity and the priority. Let me tell you something which is important. You know, we have a problem of communication. And this is something which is important when it comes to our terminology, when it comes to the words. Many of us speak English and Arabic. And you know, when I was in Egypt, by the way, I not only went there for Arabic, I went there in 6 different disciplines to get the ijaza in usul al-Quran, usul al-fiqh, ulum al-Quran, ulum al-hadith, and all this, you know, all this. I wanted this. And my main point was to go through all this. And I wanted with the sheikh that I had in Sheikh al-Aqabawi, who was in himself an institution in Egypt. I went there and I was with him going through, you know, what we have, all the discussion about ikhtilafat between the scholars. And I understood something which was very important in the fiqh field, in law and jurisprudence. By the way, fiqh is not only jurisprudence.